and the conditions that make things happen. The middle isn't working out. Nobody cares about the democracy. The reason that Hitler was jailed, he was supposed to be jailed for 6 years.
Why? What did he do?
Well, for called the Beer Hall Putsch.
What?
For the in
But you
1923.
just talked about where he went
A
to
long
try
time.
to overthrow the
He got
government.
arrested for trying to take over the government.
Oh.
Now, if you're trying to take over the government, that's treason. They can shoot you for that. You know what happens to Hitler? He gets 6 months in prison. They treat him like a king, and he's released shortly after. Why that? What happened? Why do they treat this guy who actually wanted to take over the government, who says all these horrible things about the Weimar Republic? Why do they treat him like a king?
I actually agree
Because
with
he
him.
gave everything.
Because, say again,
I
Tim?
actually agree with him.
Because the basic people in Germany agreed with his ideas, particularly about the Treaty of Versailles, about the state of effect of democracies on Germany, and that this government had signed the Treaty of Versailles that made it so he wanted to do this in the first place. He's a nationalist, pro-Germany guy. So they treat him like royalty.
How many?
He writes his book, Mein Kampf, while in jail, which is a rambling set of silly, interconnected things. You can imagine trying to connect international Jewry with the capitalists and this. It's this rambling, horrible thing. It doesn't make any sense. Sorry?
The book that I mean I just went like the
International Jew?
yeah
Okay,
it wasn't
thank you.
Jewry,
Ford.
although
Okay.
and he actually didn't. What it was he had that anti-Semitic newspaper that he bought, and it was a collection of articles from that. So I'm not sure if he really wrote it, but he definitely supervised the publication.
Right.
Wait,
And
wait,
Hitler had a copy.
What was that
Yeah.
about the chancellor?
So, okay. What happens is this is the right wing, Bruning is a conservative. Hindenburg says, sorry, you're ineffectual. It's not working out. Laws aren't being passed. The government is in trouble. There's not anything being done. Pappen, you're gonna do it. He's the other centrist party. He begins a spending program, but Hitler says, no, we're not gonna support this. He's got a large party following. He says, no, we're not gonna spend money on this. This is silly. You're wrong. Can't happen. He says, unless you give me power, I'm not gonna support you. So, Papen calls for another election. The majority of the seats of the socialists and the communists together, what does this mean?
The conservatives and
The socialists and the communists together have more seats together than the other parties. What does it say about the left? The left is divided between the socialists and the communists.
So they will fail even though there's more of them.
Yes,
Mm,
thank you.
right.
Okay? So Nazis are the largest party. So Hindenburg and Papen say, wait a minute, we got an opportunity here. We can silence this guy. We can take him out. What we'll do is we'll give him the chancellor. Give him a chance to fail as chancellor, to demoralize him so he can't actually do his job. We'll prove that he can't do it, and then we'll get him out of power. So this is how Hitler conquers Germany as a result. This is what happens. Here he is with the tradition. By the way, this guy hated Hitler. He thought he was a total dork. Okay? He thought he was using him, and he wanted to get rid of him.
Who is that?
This German guy, Hindenburg. Okay, he's a very smart man, but he's old and he's going to die soon, and that's another problem. All these guys that could have helped to save Germany died at the wrong time. The razor's edge of history, remember? Anyway, Hitler's a very passionate, powerful speaker. I'll show you that in a minute when he talks about the watermelon. And Hitler had, the communists and the socialists were fighting each other, and he calls another election, and he hires 50,000 police to beat up on any supporter. So he becomes very much the largest party. And then, just after the election, something strange happens. The Reichstag burns.
What's the right?
The Reichstag is the place where the parliament actually sits. And the police capture this guy outside with matches.
Wait, it's where Parliament sits?
Now, if I were, in this case, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I believe wholeheartedly that the Nazis lit the fire. This one guy, supposedly, with matches, lit the parliament buildings on fire? I don't think so. Okay? But he's arrested, and he's a communist.
Oh, isn't that handy?
Yes! So he actually says, we boycott the communists. There's a state of emergency, let's boycott the communists. Now there's only socialists, conservatives and Nazis. What he does also say is anybody who votes for my party, he actually goes and bribes them. He gives them money to vote, the conservatives, to vote for his policies. And he says, I need power to get rid of the communist element in our country, the people that are causing all the violence in the streets. He's the one causing the violence in the streets. The people that are communists trying to take over the government and make us all get rid of the nations. These are people who are anti-nation people. So he passes what's called the Enabling Act, giving him absolute power to make laws without parliament. He gets the democracy to eliminate democracy.
Oh.
But what does the Enabling Act fully allow him?
It allows him, it enables him literally to dominate government. What he says is law.
And is
It
it,
basically takes away the power of the parliament.
Yes, thank you.
He can do anything he wants.
Yes. So at
He
that
gets Germany
point,
to
he becomes
dictator.
dictator. Now, he's got a couple problems. One of them is that he's got some supporters that have a lot of power. Those guys that were beating up people in the streets are led by a guy named Ernst Röhm. Ernst Röhm potentially is a threat to Hitler. He also, this is not the army. These brown shirts are like an echo army.
what's a brown shirt?
Brown shirt is these guys that are beating up people. They work for the Nazis. These brown shirts are thugs, hired thugs basically, that are work for the party, that beat up on other people physically in the streets. They're the ones that fight the communists daily, on a daily basis. They organize, kind of like the mafia, where they go and make hits on people. And Rosenberg is one of the people that's going to suffer as a result of this. So, in 1934, the year after he's made himself chancellor and enabler and in the head of Germany.
Make him chancellor? Or
No,
was
he is the
already-
chancellor, giving him power, absolute power to run without parliament.
Enabling
What
Act,
he
what
does
is
is he
this?
says, okay, I'm gonna get, in one night, I'm gonna get rid of, well, 3 nights actually. I'm gonna get rid of all my enemies.
A full
So
body.
Rosenberg is murdered. A bunch of people are clubbed to death. A lot of his communist enemies are beaten to death. His Ernst Röhm is murdered. His own people are, a lot of his own supporters are murdered. Threats to his authority. And then he says, wait a minute. Let's arm forces. I will give you support. I want to buy tanks. I want to buy tanks and planes and get rid of the Treaty of Versailles. I've gotten rid of the brown shirts, which is an echo army. I want them to join you. All my brown shirts will become your force. The military goes and says, okay, well, what do you want in return? Do you know what does he want in return?
Support?
Personal oath. The oath of Hitler is not to the country. The oath of Hitler is to Hitler himself.
But what
So he makes the army swear loyalty to him.
What year is this?
1934. And what gives himself the ultimate chance to become ruler of all Germany is the president dies. He declares himself president too.
Oh boy, Hitler is one who.
This is also
From
1934?
chancellor, he creates a new position called Führer, which means simply leader. And he is now president and chancellor.
Doesn't Führer mean father?
No,
No.
means leader. Now he sets up a set of secret police under a guy named Himmler. The secret police is called the Schutzstaffel or SS. Here's how it works. I knock on your door. Knock, knock, knock.
What?
You open the door.
Well, you have to.
Knock, knock, knock. I'm knocking on your house door.
Yeah,
knock,
of
knock.
course you have to.
Do you open the door?
No, he's asking you to open the door.
Open the door.
But
Knock,
open
knock,
the
knock.
door, Lauren.
Help me. I'm a Jew. I'm on the run. I need help. Give me food and help me.
Oh, it's like what they do with people who are dealing drugs with
Do
police
you
these days.
let me in?
Well, that depends on whether or
Just
not.
answer the question. I need help. Help me. I need
Sure.
some dinner. Okay. I come in, you help me one night, and then the next night I leave. The night after that, a truck shows up in the middle of the night.
Middle of the night.
Middle of the night, and you and your entire family simply disappear. Now I show up in another door. Knock, knock, knock. Near the same name in the same neighborhood. Knock, knock, knock. Help me, help me. I'm a Jew. I need help. These people are after me. Help me.
Go away.
Go away. Good nationalist. I flip my lapel and you see the little SS on the inside of my lapel. And I walk away. Good German.
Oh.
That's
So they-
how it works.
They test their own people.
Even more. It's even more. They
Awful.
fire
That's
any
double-
teacher that does not support the Nazi program. All teachers who are not part of the Nazi party are fired because you want the kids on side. You want the kids to inform on their parents. Any youth who's not in the Hitler Youth is considered uncool. And they get opportunities to be cool and get camp for free.
Wait, camp is in what?
Camp is in summer camps,
Oh.
okay? Schools are segregated between boys and girls. Girls learn how to sew and take care of the family and the needs.
Medical things.
Medical things, they're given all kinds of other things, and these undesirables are not given any opportunities at all. Jews, communists, Protestants, Jehovah's Witnesses, gypsies, homosexuals, alcoholics, prostitutes are arrested on sight and sent to concentration camps.
Well, I'm fine with alcohol going away, but like.
Okay? Now that's said
Not really
about the
there.
prostitutes.
I'm not okay
Excuse
with
me,
going to
guys.
concentration.
What they do is eugenics.
Oh boy.
Okay? So prostitutes are, if they're of noble birth, meaning Aryan race, they are allowed to breed, and they actually have breeding houses
Yeah.
where officers can go to breed.
Wait, the officers are.
Officers can go to these
No,
places
fuckers.
to have these, okay? So you can see what's happening here. It's an organized society for the benefit of people who he particularly calls German. So this is the long
Wait, I
answer
didn't
slash.
finish that last.
Okay, I don't.
Okay.
It's not really important, but basically, he basically outlaws anybody who's not, you know, this is the Nazi salute, you know. Okay. Okay, so I'm not, there's euthanasia, there's sterilization techniques for anybody who's not of the Aryan race. This is already happening by 1935. Okay? By 1935, 1936, it just gets more and more concentrated and developed over the course of his rule.
Wait, but Hitler had brown hair.
Now, what's the rest of the international community doing at this time? They
ignoring-
don't, exactly, because this is the Great Depression. They're busy with their own lives. Okay? In order to do something about what's going on in Germany, first of all, they'd have to,
know what's going on.
even if they did know what's going on, which most of all they didn't.
They just think that Germany is
Actually,
Germany is desperate, they're marching, people have jobs now in Germany, their unemployment rate is going down because Germany is borrowing lots and lots of money. You'll see that. And Germany's getting moving again. People start to think this is actually gonna make sense. This is why the New Deal gets published, by the way, because the powers that be in the democracies of the world recognize that if we don't change, we're in deep trouble. People will either go communist or fascist. People will not stay democracies. The entire Eastern Europe goes what? Fascist. All the democracies fail.
Except for Russia.
Russia
Russia
becomes
wasn't
communist.
Yes,
Okay.
but it's still Eastern Europe.
So, good point, thank you. Okay, so okay, so Jews and other youthless people become unable, they're not allowed to marry outside of their community. They're not allowed to associate with outside their community. Now keep in mind, some of the Jews are the most brilliant people in the planet. Einstein was a Jew. Oppenheimer was a
That
Jew.
is somewhat disputable.
I'm not,
Let's no.
both those people leave Germany during this time
Yes.
to go to the United States where
Also
they can
Thomas
practice
Mann.
their craft.
It's-
As a result of that, they get the bomb.
Did you just refer to Judaism as a craft?
No, science as a craft.
have the proper amount of
Are you guys still a sentence there?
No, but it's
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not really about whether or not like Einstein or Oppenheimer or whatever was Jewish, it's whether the Nazis thought they were Jewish.
Right.
Because they were gonna
They
die.
even had the nose test.
Yeah.
Like it's
I know.
all kinds of horrible things. I'm not gonna get too deeply into it, but here's what I was talking about by the birthing homes for those Aryan prostitutes, and here's euthanasia in practice for
Wait,
hospitals.
What exactly is
This is what it's gonna lead to.
Are White.
okay?
Okay.
Where people are just part of a machine, the subordination of the individual. So if you don't protect people don't protect the individual's right to exist in as they are, Jew, Gentile, homosexual, gypsy, whatever, that leads to everybody's suspect,
Wait a
yes.
second, but it's not.
There's another thing that some people get wrong about this, and it's that the Nazis euthanized a lot of disabled people.
Yes.
But the thing is, that was a thing that was happening all over the world at the time and had been happening for quite a long time, long before Hitler ever came to power. So it's often
But not on the
used-
same scale.
No, I know it's not on the
So
same
they wouldn't
scale.
actively seek out handicapped people to put them in these places so they can be euthanized.
No,
or
no,
to
I know
be
that, but I mean like well in
sterilized.
hospitals and like
Yeah, it happened in mental
in
hospitals particularly.
institutions and stuff.
In Canada, for example.
But that happened worldwide, it
Yeah,
wasn't just
I
in
know.
Germany. So
I
when
agree.
people talk about how disabled people were killed in the Holocaust, it happened at the same time.
You're
pretty much
only,
everywhere.
what we're emphasizing here
Yeah.
is that this is not a German phenomenon, remember?
Mhm.
These are, the anti-Semitism is worldwide, or almost worldwide. People, some countries just don't care, China, for example. But there
Well,
are,
that's because there are no Chinese Jews.
not true, it's just
There
that
are.
there aren't enough.
Well, there aren't, especially not in Germany, there weren't
So-
very many.
What this is what it's gonna lead to
Yeah, that's
eventually, you
my
guys,
point.
sorry, this attitude is eventually gonna lead to what's called the final solution. This is work makes you free, free meaning free from life.
Arbeit macht frei.
Arbeit macht frei.
Work
Okay.
makes you. But what is it?
So, propaganda is the news. There's no other news allowed. The government state runs the propaganda.
From-
News, there's no free market, there's no free media. Everything has to be approved for and developed by the state. There's broad protection laws, public works are created, there's a secret police. So how, and they have rearmament, meaning the army, the navy gets ships and planes. A lot of them are made in places like Denmark and Russia. So they don't make them in Germany, they're made for Germany. Now why would Russia, Stalin, make German tanks? Because they get the technical expertise from the German engineers. So the German engineers go to Russia and develop the ability to make the tank for Germany. Germany then, so this is a deal between the two. So Hitler's already, well, as much as he is against communism, he's certainly willing to sacrifice that so that he can break the Treaty of Versailles.
How can he be against communism but for socialism?
Because he's talking about no strikes are considered anti-productive and communist. So strikes are not allowed. But he has worker representation in his government. So that for example, you get work, and you get free holidays, and he has certain holidays that are declared national holidays for workers, and so that's seen as a sign that he's actually in favor of socialist policies.
Does Nazi come from like national
Socialism,
like
yes, that's
nazi-
correct. Yes, that is correct. Now, he also does public works like the Autobahn. This is from the New Deal. So he takes ideas from the New Deal. Autobahn is a highway where you can go as fast as you want. There's no speed limit, still around today.
Yeah.
The Volkswagen, Volk is the people. The people is German people, Aryan race. Volk literally means people. Volkswagen, people's
Car.
car.
No, people's wagons.
No, it's car. Wagon means car.
I know it's car, I'm joking.
That's
Auto.
Himmler, and it's Himmler's, this is the Aryan that they're talking about, this is what they want. A martial state run by and for the Aryan race. This is the Hitler Youth, which is what he sees as the future of the state, educated, brainwashed, if you will, to serve the state. You're taught how to fire a rifle, how cool is that? You're given physical fitness as a guy. You're taught how to lead. You're taught how to fight. You're encouraged to fight because the cream rises to the top. If you are brilliant and demonstrate brilliance, you are fostered for that brilliance. People in this classroom, men, not women, would be allowed, in particular in this classroom, would be given every possible advantage because you're smart. And you would be put into the leaders of tomorrow. This would be done on purpose. They would test you, test your mental strength, test your physical strength, test your commitment to the Reich. You could see how this class would buy into it. I don't want to be, some garbage man to rule me. I want to be, I'm brilliant. Why aren't you putting me in charge? Yes.
So what you're saying is, we would get put in for leadership and you would get taken out and shot.
Yes. Because I would have stopped, so I would be in
It's
trouble.
like that
I'd be in
episode of
serious trouble.
Doctor Who where the guy like
I'd probably
wants
do
to
the same
live
as
on
thing as
that
Einstein
planet
and leave
like
for
anyone, I guess.
the US.
I
So
don't
this
remember.
is right here, this guy right here is Max Rommel. Max Rommel is there. In Nuremberg in 1936, just before the Olympics, they have the Nuremberg rallies, which supposedly worship Hitler. Now, he doesn't give a crap about Hitler himself. He could care less about Hitler. But he likes his job, and he's got a purpose. And Germany's moving again in 1936. So he goes, Heil Hitler, with everybody else. Now, of course, according to the video, what does it look like?
They're all supporting him.
They're all worshiping Hitler. Oh, Hitler's this great guy. Oh, Heil Hitler, Heil Hitler. Oh, my God. And the world is going, wow, this Hitler's amazing. He wins Man of the Year in Life magazine, 1936.
Yes, it is.
That was
You can
pretty
still see the
embarrassing.
records online.
Okay. This is the kind of people he hires. He hires university grads with nothing better to do. Howard Speer designs Berlin, redesigns Berlin to make this 1,000-year Reich. He
It
believed
was actually 38. Sorry, I just 36, not 38. That's what it says here.
what
It's for Life magazine.
Okay, 38. These are the Volkswagens. What I'm talking about. This is the church. He makes the concordat with the church, in league with the church. Why? Why does the church say yes to this?
That's a bribe.
Because he promotes values of traditional values. Okay? Traditional values. It's against Jewry. Right? It's not necessarily promoting Christianity, but it's certainly saying, okay, we'll actually build churches. And some churches are built. So financial support. Okay, so the country's moving again. I better go faster, okay?
Can
So
you talk
this-
about like
yeah.
the rest of the world response to this?
Yeah.
Will you today?
Briefly. Why is this allowed to occur?
Because of the Great Depression.
So the
Yes,
Great
yeah.
Depression is, I'll tell you what's going on in other countries. Italy is invading Abyssinia, an African country that nobody cares about. It's the only independent country in Africa. And they go to the League of Nations, they go to the League of Nations and say, please, the king says, please help us. We're being annihilated here. Our people are being massacred with machine guns and poison gas. And the international community, what do? But we'd have to declare war on Italy.
What?
We'd have to declare war on Italy. We have to stop. Okay, we'll put sanctions up. That's what we'll do. We'll put economic sanctions up. And Mussolini says, oh, okay, but I'll pay you if you look the other way. And the international community says, well, it's the Great Depression. I guess we need the money.
But Italy lost to Ethiopia though.
Italy, in the beginning, had struggles defeating Ethiopia, so they used poison gas, machine guns, and tanks and took it over. So they eventually defeat this country and occupy it in 1936 and 37. The international community doesn't do anything. Also in China. China is attacked in 1933 by the Japanese, and northeast and
Where's now you spell wrong?
Rommel.
R-O-M-M-E-L.
So I'll post this up if I haven't yet. Everybody's afraid.
No one
Now,
knows.
Munich, and the first concentration camp in Germany is actually a place called Dachau, just outside Munich, and Dachau is a tiny little town. I've been there. I've never cried so much. I was in tears, bawling my eyes out. You can see these tiny little benches, 4 or 5 stacked high up to the ceiling, where people slept on a daily basis. It's the first concentration camp in Germany. And you can see the ovens where they burned the dead people. And you can see the watchtowers and the work camps themselves where they were meant to work to death. They literally worked them until they starved to death. This is how life was. Human beings being horrible to other human beings. I realized very clearly that I would have died at the time. I would have been one of those 500,000. I also realized I might have even had the weakness to not stand up. And maybe if I lived in Dachau, I would have done this too. Oh gee, that's really bad, but at least I got a job. They're not after me yet. I had to look inside my soul and just wrench it apart. I am not as strong as I'd like to be. I sure wish I hope I never have to get challenged the way these people did. $800,000 Germans were imprisoned from 1933 to 1945 as enemies of the state. 500,000 people were executed, okay? Including a girl called Sophie Scholl. This is in 1943, when during the war, when she says that this is a government that should get out of here. And she published a document called from the Edelweiss movement. Yeah, the Edelweiss is a flower.
There's a whole bunch of other people, like, she was one of them.
Yes.
Like 5 or like.
Oh yes, she's part of, her brother was actually the leader of the organization. I just like Sophie particularly because, well, she's a girl, she's pretty, and it's a nice poster person for the movement. Either way, she was shot in the head too.
Who is this? What's her last name?
Sophie Scholl, S-C-H-O-L-L. And I've actually seen the university where they spread these papers. They actually literally threw them over they spread these pamphlets that got them murdered.
You have only 5 minutes.
I know, I'm working on it. So was, after all this, the programs from 1933 to 1939 before World War II, was it actually going to be successful? If they didn't go to war, would it have been successful? Franco, for example, was a dictator who followed in the Nazis' footsteps without the Jewish issue. Okay, he just stayed in Spain. He was alive and well in Spain from beginning to end. When he died, there was not a revolution. There was a transform from a dictatorship to a democracy. Now Spain is not the most advanced country in the world, but it stayed a dictatorship for over 50 years.
What is this?
Spain. What happened in Germany is Germany was not going to be, I argue that Germany was not going to be successful without war. Germany was organizing itself for war and needed war to survive. What was happening, real earnings were not even at 1929 levels by the time he was in 1939. And the debt was going to be burdenous, huge burden. He was paying for all this stuff with debt. Debt to whom? Other Germans. So he was borrowing from Germans and stealing from Germans,
Who is this?
Hitler, to buy the armed forces that he would need for the invasion. The invasion of the East. The purpose of his government was going to expand into Poland and the Ukraine, take it, kill everybody in it, and export Germans there to develop it. That was his plan.
Wait, he was borrowing and stealing money from the Germans?
From German people,
Yeah.
in order
For...
to pay for his military and his military organizations, including the Hitler Youth, the Autobahn, and all this stuff, in order to prosecute a war which would eventually lead to a greater German state from France, not including France, he didn't want to take over France, all the way to the Ukraine. And he would murder everybody who was not German between there and Ukraine. That was his plan. So he had some real advances. There were some, Germany had got on a national program of nationalism. He had the Olympics in 1936. The medal count, by the way, invented by the Germans. The torch lighting ceremony, invented by the Germans. All these things that we consider like peaceful competitions as a result of the Olympics, an awful lot of them were began by the Germans in 1936 Olympics. Good ideas. Definitely not for the principles that we defend. He wanted to demonstrate his superiority. Actually, there's some funny stories about that. A guy named Jesse Owens was a black man who won too many medals, and he refused to shake his hand because he was black. So there's the problem. The problem with Nazi Germany was industrialization is not the problem. It's the horrific, industrialized, purposeful hierarchy enforced by the law, organized technologically. He had, in the height of the war, he had trains full of weapons stopped by the side of the train tracks so that trains full of people could be incinerated in Auschwitz. So the priority for him was to eliminate people in the East. East of Germany. Poland, Ukraine, so that he could make greater Germany. Now, this is the Martin de Molin at the end of the war. He's a German who wrote this poem. This is not the full poem. But when the Nazis came for the communists, I was silent because I was not a communist. When the Nazis came for the Social Democrats, I was silent. I was not a Social Democrat. When the Nazis came for the Jews, I was silent. I was not a Jew. And when the Nazis came for me, there was nobody left to protest. So it is up to each individual state, each individual person, to fight against these kinds of things.
Are we going?
Cause of World War II, we'll get to that in the next unit. But I'm very, I think you basically understand that it's not a German problem. That Hitler was not, it was just a set of circumstances, some luck, but because there was a certain set of weaknesses that led to the radicalization of German politics. Now, I don't want to leave you with that, I want to leave you with this. This is just for fun, because
You
it's...
watched the Great Dictator, Charlie Chaplin.
That's totally edited.
What?
Of course it is.